All right, everyone. I've been on booktube for a few years now, rating books, giving my opinions, and I've come to realize that my rating system has been off, and I've been rating books wrong the entire time. And what it comes down to is I've been super generous with my 5-star ratings, to the point where if you look at my star breakdown, it looks like this, where most of the books I read are given 5-star ratings. And I know a lot of people in the booktube community don't see this as a negative or won't see this as a bad thing. They want pure positivity from their booktubers, and they see giving 5-star ratings to lesser known books or lesser known authors as a total win for the book community. And they don't care. They see criticism of books, even if it's fair, to be negativity and a bad thing. So why do I view me rating so many books 5 stars as a bad thing, especially when I don't think that's the trend of the booktube community? Simply put, I think it's unfair to readers, to you guys, to the authors or the books themselves. And I'm going to use 2 books to kind of explain what I mean by that as an example. And the 2 books that the 2 series I'm going to talk about and use for this is Rhaeria and Stormlight, because both of these books I've given 5-star ratings in the past. I've rated both of these books 5 out of 5 stars. Both of these books are amazing series that I love. I recommend both of these series wholeheartedly. But it is wrong to say that they are in the same category of good. And by giving both of these book series 5 stars, I've literally done just that. I've said, hey, these books are in the same category of good. But I don't believe that. I do not believe that Rhaeria is just as good as Stormlight. Book series like Stormlight Archives, like A Song of Ice and Fire, like Dune, like Book of the New Sun, these book series are leaps and bounds better than Rhaeria. And I think it's doing a huge injustice to the book community, to the readers and the books themselves by putting them in the same category. By giving them both 5 stars, I've essentially said they are just as good as each other. They are in the same category of good. And like I said, I don't believe that. So yes, I discovered that I was rating all these books wrong, that my rating system has been flawed the entire time. So I kind of decided to not rate another book until I came up with a solution. And I think it all started with that graph that I showed earlier. And most people will take a look at this graph and like viscerally be able to feel that something is wrong with it, even if they can't articulate why they feel that way, or their feelings at all. And I think what it comes down to is that most of nature falls within a standard bell curve. And this means that the majority of statistical points will typically fall close to each other. They will fall within like one standard deviation of normal or average. So when I looked at my chart, I kind of looked at it and said, hey, this isn't how nature exists most of the time. What I should be seeing is 68% of what I read should be in that average rating, in that 3-star category. And that means that if my average experience with a book that I read is, I love this book, I want to recommend this to every single person, then my average is, I love this book is great, it's fantastic, I want to share it to the world. That's my average, that's my 3 stars. And I stick with that new categorization for the rest of my star ratings. So 1-star reviews are the worst books I've ever read of all time. These are the worst books of all time. And only about 2% of all the books I read should fall into this worst of all time category. The next is the 2 stars, which is just your worse than average read. And this category should be getting about roughly 14% of the 14% of the books I read should fall in that 2-star worse than average rating. 3 stars, like I said, is average. Even if that means I love the book and would recommend it to everybody, that's still an average read. That's a 3-star book. And this should be 68% of the books I read. 4 stars is above average, and like I said, this should be about 14% of the books I read. They should fall in that 4-star rating. And then 5 stars is, these books are the greatest books of all time, bar none. only 2% of the books I read should fall into this category, and they should be few and far between. So I've been rating books wrong this entire time. I think this kind of corrected it. And I will eventually be re-rating all the books. Maybe I'll make some sort of tier list. That's not a real priority right now. The big priority of this video was to just explain why you might start seeing my book ratings decrease a little bit. Why even some books I talked about in the past being 5 stars, you will hear me talk about as a 3-star read now. Or honestly, there are some books I put in that 5-star category that are closer to like 2 stars, just because I didn't have the experience reading, because I wasn't as well read when I started this journey to be able to identify, hey, this book is like my average read, or this book is one of the greatest book series of all time. I didn't really have that breadth of experience to be able to do that. So yeah, my ratings are going to be changing. I hope most people don't see this as such a negative thing, they unsubscribe. But if you're willing to stick with me, I think you're going to see a lot more fair recommendations and ratings. Also, before I leave, I thought it might be fun to kind of like talk about how I came to this conclusion, or when I started to feel that my rating system was off. And it actually started really on in my booktube journey. I actually made a video about it, talking about how Robin Hobb's rating system is wild. And essentially, let me see if I can pull up her exact quote, because I remember being blown away and thinking like, oh, her rating system is flawed. This is not how my rating system is. I disagree with her rating system. And now 2.5, 3 years down the road, I'm like, oh, Robin Hobbs was right. Like, she was correct. Her rating system was right. But essentially, she writes in her bio on Goodreads, I am shocked to find that some people think a 2-star I liked it rating is a bad thing. What? I liked it. I liked it. And this little quote from her is what really blew my mind, because I feel like most people will take a look at that 2-star rating and be like, that's a bad book. I'm not going to risk, like, if the average reader says this is a 2-star book, I'm not going to take my time to pick that up. And even a 3-star might be risky for a lot of people, especially when they have a limited amount of time to read books, and there's books out there that are rated 5 stars. What's more is that this was a super famous author saying like, hey, a 2-star I liked it is a good thing. Like, this could be soul crushing. Like, if you're an author out there that was inspired by Robin Hobb, to get a 2-star review from her and her saying like, what, that's not a bad review, that would be totally soul crushing. So I thought she was wrong in that period of time, and now I come to realize that she's been right this entire time. She goes on to say that 2-star means that she liked the book and that she loaned it to a friend. 3 stars mean that she's ignored friends to finish it. 4 stars means that she's probably in trouble with her editor for missing a deadline because she was reading the book. And she doesn't talk about her 5-star ratings. But even though I disagreed with her at the moment, I totally understand what she means now, and I agree with her wholeheartedly. 2-star ratings are not bad. They just mean that I like this below average, for at least during my rating schema. It means that I like this less than average. So I thought I'd leave you guys with that little tidbit. Like, that's where it started. And it took me reading a book that kind of like really made me question what the rating system, which was Gunmetal Gods, which I'll talk about in a full review later. Essentially, I sat down to rate this book, and I was having a super hard time, not in the review itself, but in the rating of this book, because it was a book I enjoyed. I liked it. I know that I had rated other books that were similar to the experience I had with this book as close to 5 stars, but something felt off about giving it 5 stars. And it made me sit down and reevaluate my rating system. And that's when I made the chart and discovered that, like, hey, my rating system is flawed. So I just wanted to give you a little background too. I'll be back soon with more reviews and ratings and lots of booktube stuff. So until then, read more books. Thanks for watching.